Make it a bit more of a fuller sound. That's it. And even fuller again. This time I'll invite you to relax your lower jaw just a further 10%. Just really like wobble the lower jaw and just relax it one more time. Good. Now we'll bring our fingertips down to our lap. And repeat after me. Ah, 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 e, Shri, Shri Ganeshaya, Ganeshaya Namaha, Namaha. Shri, Shri Ganeshaya, Ganeshaya Namaha, Namaha. Ah, 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 e, e. Shri, Shri Ganeshaya, listen and repeat. Aham, aham, Brahmasmi, Brahmasmi, aham, aham, Brahmasmi, Prajnanam, Prajnanam, Brahma, Brahma, Prajnanam, Prajnanam, Brahma, Brahma, Tattvam, Tattvam, Asi, Asi, Tattvam, Tattvam, Asi, Asi, I am Atma, I am Atma, Brahma, Brahma, I am Atma, I am Atma, Brahma, Brahma, Atha, Atha, Yoga, Yoga, Anushasanam, Anushasanam, Atha, Atha, Yoga, Yoga, Anushasanam, Anushasanam, Yoga, Yoga, Chitta, Chitta, Vritti, Vritti, Nirodha, Nirodha, Yoga, Yoga, Chitta, Chitta, Vritti, Vritti, Nirodha, Nirodha, Tada, Tada, Drashtuhu, Drashtuhu, Svarupe, Svarupe, Avasthanam, Avasthanam, Tada, Tada, Drashtuhu, Drashtuhu, Svarupe, Svarupe, Avasthanam, Avasthanam, Vritti, Vritti, Sarupyam, Sarupyam, Itaratra, Itaratra, Vritti, Vritti, Sarupyam, Sarupyam, Itaratra, Itaratra, Yama, Yama, Niyama, Niyama, Asana, Asana, Pranayama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dharana, Dhyana, Dhyana, Samadhayaha, Samadhayaha, Ashtau, Ashtau, Angani, Angani, Yama, Yama, Niyama, Niyama, Asana, Asana, Pranayama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dharana, Dhyana, Dhyana, Samadhayaha, Samadhayaha, Ashtau, Ashtau, Angani, Angani, ahimsa, ahimsa, satya, satya, asteya, asteya, brahmacharya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, aparigraha, yamaha, yamaha, ahimsa, ahimsa, satya, satya, asteya, asteya, brahmacharya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, aparigraha, yamaha, yamaha, jati, jati, desha, desha, kala, kala, samaya, samaya, anava, anava, chinaha, chinaha, sarva, sarva, bhaumaha, bhaumaha, mahavratam, mahavratam, jati, jati, desha, desha, kala, kala, samaya, samaya, anava, anava, chinaha, chinaha, sarva, sarva, bhaumaha, bhaumaha, maha, maha, vritam, vritam, shaucha, shaucha, santosha, santosha, tapaha, tapaha, svadhyaya, svadhyaya, ishvara, ishvara, pranidhanani, pranidhanani, niyamaha, niyamaha, shaucha, shaucha, santosha, santosha, tapaha, tapaha, svadhyaya, svadhyaya, ishvara, ishvara, pranidhanani, pranidhanani, niyamaha, niyamaha, purushartha, purushartha, shunyanam, shunyanam, gunanam, gunanam, pratiprasava, pratiprasava, kaivalyam, kaivalyam, swarupa, swarupa, pratishtava, pratishtava, chitti, chitti, shakti, shakti, ritti, ritti, itti, itti, patanjala, patanjala, yoga sutre, yoga sutre, kaivalya pada, kaivalya pada, chaturthaha, chaturthaha. We'll just sit for a couple of minutes, let the resonance sink into your being. Just bring your attention to the touch of the breath once more in the area just below the nostrils. Just notice if the quality has changed in any way between now and before you started the practice. Just notice if the nostril that was stronger before, whether this is still the case or if this has changed in any way. And then we'll slowly make any small movements we need to bring our attention back to our surroundings and the room we're sitting in. So, does anyone have anything they wish to share? Anything they felt, or had anyone chanted that? Did it feel okay? A few questions. Did anyone recognise any of the words there? Yeah, you recognise the Ashtanga bit, right? Had anyone chanted that before?
Yes.
A few people had chanted that before, but some people maybe hadn't.
In the school we used to learn.
Exactly, okay, yeah, not in our schools yet, unfortunately. So was that nice? For those who hadn't chanted it before, was that nice thing to do? Wonderful thing to do, there you go. Good. Often, does anyone feel that sometimes people feel they want to share something after they've chanted, but you don't have to, it's quite a big group. Just giving space, no? Okay, so I'll carry on talking. So, Sanskrit, Yoga Sutras. Okay, so what are the Yoga Sutras? And why, does anyone know the name of the man who, supposedly the man who wrote them? Does anyone know the name? Patanjali, yeah, okay. Why did he write them? What is the purpose of the Yoga Sutras? Why do we engage with them? Why do we want to engage with them? And why did he want us to engage with it? So where are we meeting in this process of teacher and student? Patanjali is theoretically our teacher and we are the student, and our motivation and reason for coming together will in many ways determine the outcome, the fruit of what happens in that meeting. So it's really good before we engage with a spiritual text to just have a little look at, why we're doing it. So were the Yoga Sutras written to give us a new and better set of beliefs and ideas and kind of about the world and rules and things to follow that will help us in our life? Yeah, to some degree, exactly. You can definitely read, well, not read, a chant, you can engage with the sutras in a way where we're, okay, how can this help me? Ultimately we've all got suffering, and the Yoga Sutras, we can approach it as a way to help us move out of that suffering, improve our psychological state, and give us tools to how to deal with difficult situations in our life. So we can all relate with that, and I'm sure we have got many tangible examples of how yoga has done that. It's moved us from a perceived A to a perceived B. And not just yoga, but many other different healing modalities. They've all helped us to help us to get us better. But The only slight drawback about this mode of operation is that we tend never to quite ever get to the super, super shiny, amazing me, which is the happy conclusion of myself. Have you noticed? It's just when I'm just a little bit better, when maybe I find the better teacher, maybe if I did 2 hours practice this morning instead of 3, if I hadn't eaten that thing, if I'd just done that, then, you know, and it's just around the corner and I know it's there and I am going to be the best possible version of me one day. Definitely not now, because this couldn't possibly be it. Right now, this couldn't be it. My knee's hurting, I'm a bit hot, I'm really tired from the day, and you know, and I'm going on holiday in 2 weeks. That's going to be really good. But right now, you know, I'm just going to get through this time, and you know, supper will be good. So, you know, there's this kind of unconscious thing where we're kind of pretty much always falling over ourselves to get to the next wonderful thing. And maybe it's the Yoga Sutras. Maybe if only I was fluent in Sanskrit, if only I'd started Sanskrit when I was 3, if my parents were only Indian, if I'd been to this school and I'd been doing yoga since then I would be amazing. And perhaps this is the route, you know, because I've heard, you know, yoga has touched me so profoundly that there must be something more to it. So if only I could understand the Yoga Sutras. Has anyone here tried to read an English translation of the Yoga Sutras? Now let's be honest. Who got to the end of chapter 4? Systematically, without skipping to the last chapter. we chanted the last sutra of chapter 4, by the way, just now, so we have all got to the end of chapter 4. But who's read every single one, and every single one has been like a blast of light and joy and total kind of abandonment to the universe? Every single translation that you've read, oh my god, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. Not quite. So, but it will be if only I knew Sanskrit. If only I could just be a little bit more committed, more academic, and my brain worked in that way, then I'm sure I would be enlightened. So one of the, there's 6 conditions that make a sutra, and one of them is that it's Vishvamukha, which means it's all faces in all directions. Mukha. Adho Mukha Svanasana, you know more words than you think. Vishwa in all directions, which means that in English the word we say is universal. And it means it can be accessed at any time by anyone in any situation. There is no prerequisite to already be fluent in the language that it's written in. The only thing that you need is a very, very attentive and refined ear, and an openness to connect to sound. Because the Yoga Sutras are a spiritual and symbolic language. And we're going to talk more about that. But if we try and translate it from our, usually we're in the physical realm, if we try and translate it from the realm that we normally operate in, we're not going to access what the Yoga Sutras is trying to take us to, because it's written from another place. So we need to kind of let go of our ideas of this word means this word means this, you know, the way that we're all taught. If I want to know something, I study it. And we're dealing in a spiritual realm, so that's brilliant, because most people are like, oh, I haven't got time to study the Yoga Sutras, oh god, I'm going to feel out of reach. We can let go of that completely, and we can just relax and listen to the sound, which is how children learn English, right? And it's how you can pay loads of money to do the Rosetta course and learn Italian or Spanish. You basically sit in a really comfy chair and they just play you the sounds in a particular way. I can't remember how you pay like £1,000. You sit in the chair for 5 days and then you're fluent in Italian. So they've proven that that's the way that we learn the best. You know, it's a receptive, joyful, fun way, not in the way which probably most of us, if we're Western, have been schooled in a different way. So first of all, we kind of have to unschool ourselves a bit, which is hopefully a relief. So the Yoga Sutras are not there to provide us with a new set of beliefs, ideas, structures and rules for us to follow, because they're Vishwamukha. They apply in every situation. Any rule, any belief that you make, even if it's applicable 95% of the time, you will be able to find at least 5% of the time when it's not applicable. You can always find that particular situation, that particular context. You know, don't be violent except for when you're saving the child who's been beaten up by someone else. Then you can be as violent as you want to, you know? So all these rules that we make, they can always be looked at from the other side. So what the Yoga Sutras are there to do is to get rid of all of our beliefs and ideas and identifications, so that we can be fully present with whatever the situation requires from us. So the only thing that stops us from being fully present in the moment is our ideas and beliefs about how this moment should be. We all, I'm sure, have experienced that. I shouldn't be on the tube stuffed in a tunnel, waiting here for 50 minutes stuck in a tube. Okay, you can understand why that's uncomfortable for all of us, but it's the belief. So then anxiety, panic, it's the actual situation is fine. We're just in a tube and hot. We're just super hot and it's horrible. But it's the idea that this situation should not be happening which is causing all of the trouble. So the Yoga Sutras are here to show us how the mind works, not so that we can try and change it, because if anyone here has tried to change their mind, they will have realized that it's not possible. Well, you can change it a bit, but fundamentally it's very, very hard to really change it. It's there so that we can see, so we can have the tools, so we can that's what's happening. And it's in the seeing of what's happening that then, as a byproduct, something may change, but you can't be wanting the change to happen in order for it to happen. You just have to be openly and genuinely there to see what's happening. So it's useful to know that when we're engaging, okay, why am I going to the Yoga Sutras? Sometimes we can take a tool from it, and we can take, okay, in this situation, the Yoga Sutras suggest doing this. And it can be kind of helpful, but if we're wanting to go to the ultimate place where the Yoga Sutras are trying to take us, it's useful to know that we're not trying to gain something from it, we're actually trying to shed and let go of everything that we're holding on to. And the way that we're trying to shed and let go is with the torch of light and vision, and just see what's happening. So a little story to illustrate this. I didn't have a whiteboard, we'll try with this blackboard, hopefully everyone can see. So this is the story of Patanjali. So does anyone, has anyone read like Obelix and Getafix? Yes. And Asterix and all of those things? So Patanjali is a bit like that. Once you know what Sanskrit means, you'll realise, you know, was this man real? Was Svatmarama, the guy who wrote the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, was he real? Everything's a bit of a mystery in the Indian tradition. Like the dates are really unclear. The Yoga Sutras were written sometime between 500 BC and 500 AD. There's a 1,000-year range. You can't pin, you know, Vedavyasa wrote some of the texts which mean that he was alive for like 3,000 years. You know, there's inconsistencies everywhere. And this isn't just because, you know, that it's not logical and they're not being clear in their history. It's purposely there to keep us open. Nothing can be pinned down. Keep us, okay, was Patanjali alive? I don't know. You know, does it matter? Maybe not. Was he a real person? These things don't matter. It keeps us open. There's no mistake that the only word in Sanskrit that you have a choice of how to pronounce is the word Brahma, that can either be pronounced Brahma or Brahma. You would have heard both of those pronunciations. And again, there's this which way. And in the Sanskrit grammar book, it gives you the option. It says you are allowed to pronounce this word in these two different ways. If anyone doesn't know, Brahma is kind of the Sanskrit word for spirit, God, consciousness, that which is everywhere. And that word you can pronounce in two different ways. So you know, that's an option that it shows you. It's the same with the Jewish tradition. So they have the word Yahweh that you're not supposed to pronounce. In the Hebrew language, the vowels are not clearly written. They're kind of diacritics on top. So it's just YWH, and people, you're not supposed to pronounce it because it could be Yahweh, Yahweh. So this kind of, as soon as you pronounce something, you're kind of fixing it. So these great spirits in the Jewish tradition and in the Sanskrit tradition have a mystery around the pronunciation of these names. So Patanjali, so I'm going to draw a picture, which hopefully everyone can see. Oh. Okay, so is that clear? That's the end of that, right? No. So, this is a 1,000-headed snake, and on top of his 1,000 heads, he is holding the whole universe. So that's the world. I've just drawn the world. Yeah, and he is also holding Vishnu, who's in Vishnu Asana. So this thing with the thing up there. So the name of this snake, he's got two names. So he's called, I don't know if you can read that, it's probably too small. Ananta is one of the names. And then the name that we're interested in for today is Adi Shesha. You can come up and get the spelling after if you're interested. So this snake is strong enough to hold the entire universe on his head. So he's got some stira, okay? He's strong, right? But he's also supple enough to be able to hold Vishnu, and in this context, Vishnu is representing consciousness or spirit. We have many less words in English than they do in Sanskrit for this concept of the intangible, that which we can't see but we know is there. So he's sukham, he's got enough suppleness and easefulness to be able to hold this precious spirit, but he's also got the strength to hold the entire universe. So so also this snake joins the two together. So it links the two together. So if you are going to a yoga class and you're feeling really identified with this element, with the world, if the Sanskrit word, if anyone's heard the word prakriti, which is basically matter, my matter means also your thoughts. So you're feeling work was really tough today, and I just hate my boss, I hate my job actually, and my knee's hurting, You come to the yoga class, at the end of the yoga class, hopefully, and nothing matters. Oh, thank God. I'm totally connected with my essence. So what was the thing that helped us get from here to here? Yeah, but in the yoga class, what's the thing which is the most important thing? The breath. The breath. So the snake is a symbol for the breath, because it's that which moves you from Prakriti back to Purusha. It's the link between the two. The name for the breath, so one name for this snake is Ananta, which means, anta means end, no end. That with no end is the breath, until there is an end. But the breath has no end, it just keeps going. And the other word for the snake is Adi Shesha, which I'll explain in a minute. So I'll just finish the story, then I'll come back to Adi Shesha. So even though the world is here, the world's also down here in this story. So it doesn't quite make sense, but it's okay. So down in the world, the human beings have misery has befallen them, and they are beset with worry about their future and the state of mankind, and they are praying, or they're holding their hands out in Anjali Mudra, and they're asking for something or someone to come and help them. So this snake, who has stira and sukham, has strength and subtlety, and who is a symbol of the breath, comes down, and on the way down he morphs into half man, half snake, and he falls, pat. So pat means falling, the one who is the root for falling, in falling. Pat, Anjali, the one who falls into the ones holding Anjali Mudra below them. So you can see the asterisk on, so pat, falling into Anjali Mudra. And so if anyone has seen a statue of Patanjali, you know, he'll have this half snake, half human. So even the author, if he was a real guy, you can see is steeped in symbology. Is a reference to the breath, the qualities that he has, strength and subtlety, are all held within that name. So the other thing which I'm going to talk about, because this is important. So what this other name which he has, Adishesha. Just any questions at that point? We're going to launch into the next thing. All good. Okay. So it's linked. In Western psychology, we tend to have two domains. We tend to have the conscious and the unconscious, as I think Freud or Jung, I don't know, both of them. Less conscious. Or less conscious. But we have in Freud talks about the unconscious, though. The realm of unconscious is the realm of the sleeps and dreams. So we're all quite familiar with these terms because they've kind of really infiltrated down, and they're kind of common parlance amongst us. But in the Sanskrit tradition, there's 4, not 2. So in the Sanskrit tradition, we have what's called, again, we have no real name in English to describe it. We have the causal realm, the subtle realm, the physical realm, and then we have the 4th, which is that which permeates them all, which isn't a realm or a state. Turiya is one of the words for it. It's that which permeates all of the states. So the physical realm, we can all probably have some understanding of what that is. You know, we feel like we have some connection and understanding of the physical realm. The subtle realm, the realm of the mind, it says in the Sanskrit tradition that there is in fact no movement in the physical realm. All movement comes from the realm of the mind. So when Shakespeare said there's no good or bad, but thinking makes it so. The thinking brings the movement. I know that's kind of incredible for our minds to believe, because it just feels like there's movement happening everywhere. But we may have, you know, experienced in Shavasana or in other experiences where when the mind is totally still, our experience of the movement in the physical world out there changes. So the mind is very, very instrumental in the way that we perceive the physical world around us. So this is the realm of the subtle realm, and according to the Sanskrit tradition, the only place where there is any movement is in the subtle realm. And then we have this completely unmanifest realm, unapparent realm called the causal realm, which, as the English word suggests, is what causes everything to come into manifestation. It's something that's very hard for us to talk about. I've got a quote somewhere. Anyway, I'll pull it out in a bit. I won't lose the thread. It's I'm going to pull it out. I'll get it out. I'll have a quick look, see if it's just to hand, because it's really good. It's from the Mandukya Upanishad. So has anyone looked at the Mandukya Upanishad? So of the 12, there are, lots of Upanishads, but of them, there are 12 main ones, and of the 12 main ones, the cream of all of them is known as the Mandukya Upanishad. And the really good news is that it is 12 lines long. Which is pretty good, because some of these Upanishads are, fat. So and the other thing, which would be pretty good for us to be interested in, is that it talks about Om. It talks about Om, and it splits Om into the physical, the subtle, the causal, and the Turiya, the fourth that permeates them all. So everything that I'm talking about, you can find in the Mandukya Upanishad, and maybe I'll have to find the quote for tomorrow, if you want to come to tomorrow's session, because it says it more beautifully than I could possibly do it. This is my book, by the way. It's called Sanskrit for Yoga Students, and it's still in printed out form, but it's I've got a way to go, but it's coming. It wasn't easy to hand. So anyway, there's a beautiful quote in the Mandukya Upanishad which explains the causal realm, which is that which we get touched by it. It's so powerful, this causal realm, that even just the smallest touch of it can transform our whole life. So we may have just walked into a yoga class completely innocently, just like, oh, I'm just going to try out a yoga class because that's what everyone else is doing. You do the yoga class, and then suddenly you walk out and you're like, oh my god, I'm not going to miss that class again. And then before you know it, you're kind of searching courses online, and suddenly you're like a yoga addict, and that's all you can think about. And why is that? It's because we've been touched. It's the way it's described in the Upanishads. We've been touched by the causal realm, and even beyond that, we've been touched by Turiya, that which is even more subtle than the causal realm. And it's really useful to know that, because if we can know that and then we can connect with it deeper, then it can help us to go the full way, the whole way, which is to completely let go of everything and let the causal move our life for us, so that we are no longer trying. If I do this, I've got to do this. The plan is, according to the Yoga Sutras and the Upanishads, to let go of the control, and the causal is already moving all of us. We wouldn't be in this room in our right minds almost. Before we'd started yoga, if someone had explained you're going to spend the day sitting, listening in talks, you could be like having a barbecue with your friends, having a party, which theoretically might sound way more fun. Like, why are we all in this room talking up? Because we've all been touched, right? Because we've all something, and we want to know more.
Would you describe it as to be inspired in spirit?
Yes, definitely. The inspiration and creativity comes from the causal realm. All inspiration. So when you're, anyone, whether you've been writing, playing music, doing art, and suddenly it's kind of just coming through you almost. There's this flow that's described very beautifully. See, we don't have as many words as they have in Sanskrit to articulate it. But in Sanskrit, it's articulated as the causal realm moving through you, and the more you can let go of your subtle and physical realm, the more the causal can come through. And the power of the causal realm is beyond any power you could, possibly imagine. Just look at someone like Buddha, current day people, Ama, Adyashanti, Mukti, and then Muji. These people, all they've done is get out the way and let spirit come through, and the profound effect they're having on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, it's absolutely extraordinary. That's not them, they just managed to let go. So that can be a real relief to know, because you can just say, okay, phew. It's the first step of AA. My life has become unmanageable, and I can no longer, I can't do it myself, basically. I hand over I cannot get through this addiction or this pain or whatever myself. I hand it over to something greater than me, and that is the first step. Until you do that, you can't really progress in the path of AA. So okay, so this is all back to Patanjali. So I just needed to give you a bit of a background about these three states and then the fourth, because this understanding permeates the Upanishads, permeates the Yoga Sutras, and it's really vital when you're looking to translate something, or if you're looking to connect with the resonance of something, which they're called padas in Sanskrit. Which pada are they talking from? Are they talking from the physical realm here? Are they talking from the causal? Are they talking from the Turiya realm? Because the place that they're talking from will determine the place we've got to try and find in ourselves for the resonance to speak to us properly. So it's really useful to know that they speak from these 4 different places. So the Yoga Sutras are written in 4 pada. So in English, often they're just translated as chapter, which is just a boring old word, 4 chapters. But this word pada doesn't mean chapter at all. It means many, many things. Or one thing it means is a step. So what happens when you take a step? Padangusthasana, all these asanas have got pada in, right? So foot, movement, step. When I move from here to here, I literally see this room in a different way. As your angle changes, you see things in a different way. The word pada also means is connected. It means illumination and light as well. So as we see things from different angles, illumination, light. So that time when you're speaking to a friend and you're just like telling them about the problem, and then this, and then they say, well, how about if you saw it from maybe it wasn't all them, and maybe you were actually involved as well, and you're like, and when you see from another angle, it's illuminating. It's like, oh wow, now I see the situation in a completely different way, and that brings us clarity. So it's really important to move, to step, and see things from different angles. So the Yoga Sutras, the first chapter is talking from the physical realm. The second chapter is talking from the subtle realm. The third chapter is talking from the causal realm. And the fourth chapter is called Kaivalyam, and that is the goal of yoga. If anyone thought Samadhi was the goal of yoga, I've done a little video on this actually recently on my Facebook page. I might not talk, anyway, Samadhi is not the goal of yoga. I'll talk about that maybe today or tomorrow. Kaivalyam is, but most people haven't heard of Kaivalyam. But the fourth chapter of the Yoga Sutras, is because most people never get to the fourth chapter. They stop halfway through the second, where it's Samadhi. If you get to the fourth, the title is Kaivalya Pada, the standpoint from Kaivalyam. This is how the mind operates from the standpoint of Kaivalyam. Has anyone heard this word before?
No.
Yeah, and any feeling idea about what this word might mean? Yeah, that's often translated as liberation. Yeah, but actually, if you break apart the word, that's kind of like a poetic. Was it you who said it? I couldn't remember. It was you. All right. Yeah. Liberating isolation. You got that bit? Yeah. So the root of usually I have a whiteboard, but I'll just say it. Of Kaivalyam is, well, before I say that, Kaivalyam comes from the word Kevala. Kevala means alone, one, just one. So often people say, but the Yoga Sutras is dual, right? Because it talks about Purusha and Prakriti. And then it's like, well, if you look at the final chapter, you'll see that actually it's talking about one. Kevala is one. And then Kaivalyam is a Tadita form, which means the energy, the essence, the quality of one. So when there's one, you're alone. So when we think of the word alone, we think lonely. It's not lonely, it's just taking the one seat, fully stepping into your essence and stepping into oneness. So and the root of this word is cave, K-E-V, And the meaning, or a beautiful meaning of this root cave, is sevane, which means in service. So in the action of service, you will know what kaivalyam means. You will know what oneness means, which is amazing, because when we're in true service, when we're out of the way and we're able to respond authentically and directly and genuinely to what is present in front of us. Then we're in service, because we're not in service to our own personal ambitions and ideas. We're in service to one. And so it's beautiful, because I think this is often not brought to the fore in yoga, the yoga world, and it's often yoga, and then if you want the deep stuff, you go to Buddhism or something, because that's where all the texts are. But it's actually there in the Yoga Sutras. Service, oneness, the goal of the Yoga Sutras. Step back into service, and then you will know this oneness. So it's really important to have a feel for this pada, this theory of the pada. And the pada is talked about explicitly in the Mandukya Upanishad. It describes each of these pada in turn in only 12 lines. So that is one that you probably could access. It's actually much more accessible than the Yoga Sutras, and it's just beautiful to read. So if you come tomorrow, I'll find it on my phone and read it then. So linking back to this, and now I'm ready to tell you what Adishesha means. So if anyone know, I believe his name is in the Ashtanga opening prayer. Does anyone know the word Adishesha? Comes in a few of the opening prayers, for Patanjali opening prayers. So the root of Adishesha, if you want to understand the Sanskrit word, always look to the root. So the root is shish. A dot underneath a letter in Sanskrit means put the tongue to the roof of your mouth. Sha, sha. So if you see a dot underneath a T, put your tongue to the roof of your mouth and go ta, ta. And then under a D, da, and na. So ta, da, na. And then you have an aspirated ta, so you have ta. So the Sanskrit language uses this cerebral position that doesn't exist. We've lost this whole position in English. The tongue doesn't come up like this. And we've also lost bringing up stuff from here. So we can exaggerate it if you do Kapalabhati. So you bring it right from the tongue. And then so Buddha. It's not Buddha, Buddha. We as English people usually have to exaggerate it a bit to get it to start with ha. Eventually it can be more subtle, Buddha, but ha. And it's coming right, so we're using the whole body when we speak the Sanskrit language. So this is a shish. The sha, the second sha is with the tongue up. Sha. Sha. This sha is with the tongue in the normal sh position, sha. So we can all make that sound. This sha is like this, sha. So shish. Hard word for us to say. So this is the root of Adishesha, and the root of shish means in the remainder. So in the remainder, you will find out what Adishesha means. So what does the remainder mean? So the remainder means the causal, basically. This is what we can see. This is all obvious. What about the rest? What about the remainder that we can't see? How much attention are we giving to the remainder, to the unapparent? So the Sanskrit word for apparent is apara. So immediately, apara, apparent. And the word for beyond apparent is para. And we have the word paranormal. So paranormal means beyond normal, and para in Sanskrit is like turiya. That's the fourth. It's the thing that's beyond any don't know what the word is, recognition. So the name for this snake, it is another word for the causal realm, the remainder. So what that means is this story belongs to the causal realm. This story of the world being supported by this snake, which is the breath that's also holding consciousness, doesn't belong to this physical realm, because we have never seen a snake holding the universe on its head with Vishnu sitting there. It doesn't belong in this world. But it can belong in the visualized world of the causal realm. And this is what we're being told, that that's where it belongs. And then the people below, Anjali, please someone help me, please someone help me. And then the snake comes from the causal realm, through the subtle realm, and comes into the physical realm, into the form half man, half snake. So it's something we can now connect with, because we can understand it and have some understanding of what this is, although he's still half snake. So it's to remind us, don't get too caught up on the physical. Don't get too caught up on the idol of Shiva or Vishnu or thing. They've all got their blue, and they've all come from the causal realm, because they've got all these symbols, you know, legs and arms, and he's half a snake. So instead of looking and thinking, oh yeah, half a snake, half a man, whatever, it's like, hey, when you know the story, it's like, okay, so this is showing you, this is saying, pay attention to the remainder. Pay attention to the unapparent. Pay attention to that from which we all come and from which we're all going to go, because that's where these teachings have come from. And if we keep that connection in our being, then the way that we connect with the Yoga Sutras will be completely different, because we have kind of a different respect and a different kind of open to it in a different way, instead of just being like, okay, well, this translation says it means this, and this translation means, and then I'm just going to cross-reference 10 translations, and then I'm going to like write whichever one seems the most right. That's a completely academic Western way of approaching a totally spiritual, symbolic text. And we will just get from it what we put into it. We will get back an academic kind of experience to share, rather than a completely transformative, opening, energy-filled experience. So, yeah, I think that's explained that picture now. Got it? Good. I'm gonna wipe it with this. So, we've done some, we went straight in the deep end. Let's just do, oh yeah, we've got a few things we can do. So let's do, let's first of all just do one thing about when we pronounce things in different ways, how the resonance feels different, and how that might change the meaning of a word. So you may have all heard of this person. Can you see that? So how would we say that usually if we're Krishna? Krishna, yeah. So now we might know something about these dots underneath. You see there's no I in this word. So what you do is you put your tongue to the roof of the mouth and you say Krishna. 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 Have you got it? Yeah? Tongue up. Krishna. Krishna. So the R is a vowel in itself. That's why there's no I, because it would be, you can't have one vowel followed by another vowel. Krishna. So now say Krishna. Krishna. And now say Krishna. Krishna. Feel different? Yeah. Quite different? Yeah. So does anyone know what, okay, we all know he's the gopi guy, but do you know what the actual word means? Krishna. Yeah, dark. Black or dark, which is a surprise, right? Because we all think that Krishna's the light one. He is. It comes from the root Krish, which means the one that draws people towards him, and that's what he does. He plays the flute and he just draws people towards him with his magnetism. But the name itself, so he is pure light, but the name itself means dark, which so two things I've got to say about that. The first thing is, Which sound sounds darker, Krishna or Krishna? Krishna. Big difference, right? And what does Krishna sound like? It sounds light, the complete opposite, right? And then people say, well, why is his name dark when he's like, well, it's again, everything in this tradition is symbolic. It's constantly trying to get your mind to get out of its rut or belief in what it sees. So he's light, but he's also dark. You know, it's all, both are always there, present. So as soon as you feel like you understand something, it's like, no. Look at this. There's this other thing there. So it keeps you open. It's keeping us like this, so that the causal can come through us. So let's just say that again together, so we can really feel it. So we'll say it the English way first, Krishna, Krishna, and I'll say the Sanskrit way, Krishna, Krishna. So that's a quite nice one to hear, because people often ask me, you know, well, what about, does it matter if you pronounce it right or wrong, if your heart is in the right way? And I think if your heart is in the right place and you're trying, it's absolutely fine, you know, no problem, just say it. But if you're trying to crack a glass, you are not going to do it unless you hit the right pitch. So it depends what you're trying to do. Are you trying to use mantra with an arrow to pierce into the next realm? Or are you just having a nice time? Because if you're trying to use it as a tool to pierce, you have to hit the right note. And that was just a small example about how you could hear the difference between those two. And I can show you another example. So we'll start first of all with the vowel, the sound. So we did this at the beginning, and we all did the sound So let's just try making that sound together. Good. So now I'm just going to show you what happens when I move my lower jaw down and up. And I won't be changing my sound, all I'm doing is moving my jaw, and you'll see if you can hear a difference in the sound that comes out. So, can you hear the difference? So I'm lucky, I had my, well, don't know lucky, but anyway, I went through a massive teeth procedure. I had my jaw kind of like, I wore a thing that I lapped for my mouth for like 2 years. Well, I got my whole brain thing changed and teeth put back in and all this extraordinary stuff. So I have a bit of capacity with my jaw, which has actually helped me. But so, don't worry if your jaw doesn't go so much, but I want everyone to just experiment. We do all have more capacity than we think. And a good way of doing it is if you rest your things here, and it just kind of helps you to feel as your lower jaw goes down and up. So we're just going to do that ourselves and do it and feel what happens in this area as you get, and when you get down, like there's a difference when your head's like this, and when your head's when you try and like slight Jalandhara Bandha, slight tuck in, it kind of really affects the vocal cords. So let's just experiment together. Could you feel it? Yeah. Can you hear it? Yeah? It's and don't force it, don't do like strain, just whatever you can do in your comfortable capacity. You will have a range, everyone has a range, and that range will affect the sound between that and that, whatever your range is. So let's do it just maybe one more time, and this time do it with your eyes closed so you can kind of hear your sound and feel it. So we'll just do it one more time. Oh. and again with the sound, this is like a sounding practice. Just getting out the way and just letting the sound come, because it's different to a singing class where we're trying to train our voice and trying to produce a really beautiful sound. This is not what we're doing when we engage with the matrika. These are called the 16 divine mothers of Sanskrit, which are the vowel sounds. Each vowel corresponds to a different element, and more, obviously the 16, but 10 of them correspond to the elements. The practice is, you know, for, not necessarily for once, but to finally just let whatever wants to come out of your mouth come. So we're not trying to manipulate it or change it according to what we're thinking sounds nice. I know you heard a different sound when I opened my mouth, but it wasn't that I was making a beautiful sound. I think what it was that you heard was like there was a resonance about it, right? And that was not to do with me trying to make a beautiful sound. It was just literally open my mouth and just let it come. So let's just do that one more time, and we'll just go straight. So we don't have to do the small and up. Just go straight into making the R sound, and however it wants to come in this moment, because it changes at all times. The sound is coming from everywhere in our body, and it's just making the sound, is releasing things. So with that kind of respect for the sound, we'll just make it one more time, and we'll just get out the way and just let the ah come. What's so beautiful about these vowel sounds is they're so simple and yet so powerful and so resonant. And a lot of the bija mantras have a vowel in the middle with a consonant either side. But if the vowel isn't kind of almost have the respect in the right way, it's not necessarily going to do what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to show you one other vowel, which is going to be really tricky for everyone to do, but I'm going to show it to you because it's such a strong marked difference between the English and the Sanskrit, so I think it's really good to hear it, even though for us it's usually quite hard to do it initially because we're not used to moving our tongue in this way. But it's the long, in English it's written the letter I, so it's the long I sound, which we would normally do an E for. So we go E, so let's just do a long E together in the normal English way that we would do, or whatever country you're from. So, she's got quite a it's got a particular energy to it, which you'll hear clearer when I show you the Sanskrit one. So the Sanskrit E isn't like that. The Sanskrit E, you keep your mouth in the position of the ah, and you lift your tongue up halfway. So you don't lift the tip up, you just lift the whole tongue up and have a little bit of strength in the back, and then put your focus on the upper half of the mouth. So I'll just show you so you can hear the difference. I'll go from the ah to the E, and then I'll do the English E and back again. Could you hear the difference? can you feel how meditating with E is not going to get you to the same place as meditating with and you can see why the sound would be written with an I, with the left. That's because it's the only thing that we've got, you know, that sounds like it. And in the Sanskrit, it's, you know, the Devanagari. Because how do you write that sound down? You see, and so luckily there is still an oral tradition in the Sanskrit world. You can only learn from someone who knows. It's the same with English. How do you know how to say Leicester unless someone can tell you? Otherwise it's Leicester, you know? Not quite as spiritually resonant, but anyway. I think. So we're going to give it a go. This one takes a bit more time to practice, so don't worry if you can't get it. And you know, there's lots of tongue exercises I give people who want to get it. So we'll just try for now. So we're going to go from the R, and I recommend keeping your hand here because it stops you from doing that. Again, it's important to keep your attention in the back of the neck here. You're lifting the tongue and bringing your attention to the upper chamber of the mouth, and there's kind of like a little bit of tension. You're holding your tongue like a little bit like that. Let's try. So we'll go from the R. English E. See, it's like grating to the ear, right? Now you can hear. And once you can hear, you can't unhear, right? But before you know, you just think, well, that was a nice sound. And then when you hear the difference, you're like, oh, okay, it was a horrible sound. So, not horrible, but pretty horrible. So even if you couldn't get it, I think you still, even though the majority of the room probably didn't 100% get it, there was still a marked difference. There was a massive difference in the room compared to the Englishy, right? The secret of it is really to bring the sound in the top half of the mouth. So we'll just try it one more time, just so you can have another go. From the R to the E. So I've just been given the 2-minute warning. So in these 2 minutes, I just want you to bring your attention to the upper part of the tongue and feel it. Just rest in its rest position. And then I want you to bring your attention to the lower half of the tongue. And can you feel a difference between the upper part of the tongue and the lower part of the tongue? If your mouth is closed, if your eyes are closed, just feel into it. The top half should feel sparkly, kind of resonant, open. It's kind of present, and the lower half is just kind of this chasm into the underworld. Does anyone feel that? If you close your eyes and feel the top half of your tongue, it will feel very different to the lower half of your tongue, the underside of your tongue and the upper side of your tongue. So the upper side of the tongue in the microcosm is the physical realm. The lower side of the tongue is the causal realm. So what you do with your tongue is changing what's happening in the physical, causal and subtle realms in the microcosm of your mouth, which affects the whole body. So that's just a little taster in the last 2 minutes. So we're going to end with a tiny little chant. Bring your fingertips to the area of the heart, close your eyes, repeat after me. Shantir. Shantir Namaha. Namaha. Fingertips to the top of the head. Repeat after me. Shantir. Shantir Namaha. Fingertips to the lower belly, repeat after me. Namash. Namash. Shanti. Shanti. Repeat silently in your head. Shanti. Repeat after me. Harihi. Harihi. Om together.